Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the TLDR podcast. Today we have one of Australia's leading, I would say, CrossFit YouTube content creators, Wyks, on the show with us. He's been generous enough to give us some of his time today. And Wyks, welcome.
Thanks, boys. I'm pumped. I'm honored to be on the podcast.
Sick. It's good to have you. For
Pleasure's
those
all ours,
that maybe don't know who you are, what you do, it's kind of their loss and they're about to find out, I guess, but they're going to get exposed. But maybe share a little bit about maybe your background, what you do now, and how you maybe got there.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a South African-born Kiwi that now lives in Australia. So been kind of 15 years in South Africa, 15 years in New Zealand, and I've been here in Australia since 2016, and I think I'm here to stay. Loving the Gold Coast. So yeah, I've always been into fitness and sport. It's kind of been my life since I was a young boy. Like growing up in South Africa, you've got no choice but to play rugby, cricket, and I just did every sport under the sun, and fell in love with the gym pretty early on as well. So when I moved to New Zealand, I started working at a normal gym, like a Globo gym, as a fitness instructor.
Yep.
And stumbled across CrossFit.com. Classic story, like most people do, like find CrossFit.com and try some of the workouts and just kind of get hooked. So fell in love with it and decided I had to start my own CrossFit gym. I was just, drank the Kool-Aid and just couldn't let go of it. So yeah, so that was in 2011, started a CrossFit gym. That ran until I sold it in 2019. So 8 years of running that gym.
Yeah.
When I moved here to Gold Coast, I started a CrossFit gym here as well, which we can talk more about. That wasn't the greatest success. There was a three-year grind to try and get off the ground, and then decided to close that down. And yeah, in the process of all that, running a business, you try and get members through the door. So you think, nice photos and good video will probably help do that. And so I just kind of picked up a camera and learned how to take photos and do video, and fell in love with that side of things. So that's what I do now, full-time content creator, mainly in the CrossFit space. So most of the brands I work for are, sponsor CrossFit athletes, and so just living the dream, doing content creation, which I love, but being able to do it in the CrossFit space, which is something else I'm really passionate about. So really lucky in that sense. Yeah.
That's so good. What a journey. A few questions to come with that. What initially attracted you to New Zealand? Like, what was the rationale? Was that family or family moved?
Yeah, I was only 15, so I didn't have much choice. By saying that, I actually, my best friend in South Africa, they moved over before us. I would have been probably 7 or 8 when they moved over. And at the age of 9, I flew over from South Africa to New Zealand all by myself. It's about a 24-hour flight.
Yeah.
As a 9-year-old, that was pretty. I can't believe my parents allowed that, but I came and visited him, loved it. Came back when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And after that second trip, I came back home and I said to Dad, "Man, we gotta make the move. You gotta go check out this country. It's amazing." So, Dad came and checked it out, and then we moved over. So kind of our friendship is what sparked that move. Yeah.
The instigator. I love it.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm finding it. There's the word that keeps coming up when we have these sort of podcasts with guests that we get on is opportunists. We see that a lot of people that seem to be entrepreneurs or self-motivated and things like that are quite opportunistic, and just even in your story just then, worked at a Globo gym, just found a different style of fitness, got passionate about it, thought, stuff it, I'm going to go and start up a gym. Like that's a big, not a big audacious goal, but it's one of those, I think most fitness instructors would have that goal. Yeah. Not many would act on it to the point where, you had an 8-year successful business running, then move again, then try again. But then find a different passion. And you're like, cool, I'm all in on this. Maybe is that how you describe it? You just like, I see something and I do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going back to when I was like 9 or 10, I used to go to the gym with my dad. He would do sessions and I would just kind of play around the gym and sometimes do the circuit that he used to do just on the machines. And I used to think, I remember as a 10-year-old thinking, man, I love the gym, but everyone's just here doing their own thing. Like it's no real community as such. Everyone's got their earphones in and just doing their own little thing. And I always thought, man, there's something missing with this gym model. Like it'll be amazing to have this fitness thing, but combine it with some more friendships and community. So I remember even as a young guy thinking, man, there must be a different way to do this gym thing rather than the big corporate model. So yes, I mean, when I found CrossFit, I was like, this is exactly what I thought of when I was a young guy. But yeah, as far as the opportunistic thing goes, yeah, absolutely. I'm big on just having a crack, like I'm big on just failing and learning and, hoping something sticks and you succeed at something, but having a crack, not playing it safe. I'm big on not playing it safe for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've definitely felt that from watching a lot of your YouTube videos. There's no, you're quite vulnerable, and in a fun way, almost just like, no, I'm going to have a dip. The one takes or the, try the lift, and it just didn't work. But it's all good. I learned from it. It's not you're not out there just putting up your best content all the time, or all your wins.
Absolutely.
I think it's quite relatable.
Yeah, I mean, the YouTube channel is a classic example. Like I still don't know what I'm doing with it. I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'm still in that having a crack moment. Like I really am. Like I've had some success with it, but it's a long way off what I want to achieve with it. So still trying to figure it out on the go. Yeah.
So for the last 3 years or so, when your CrossFit gym closed down on the sunny coast, was it, you said?
Yeah, on the Gold Coast.
Were you just making content through that time, or did you have another job that you were maintaining some steady income throughout? Or was there a tipping point for you where you were like, yeah, content creation is the thing and I'm just going to chase this thing?
No, I've always been a big fan of kind of mitigating the risk and not putting myself in. I've got a wife and a kid to look after. So, so there's definitely a transition period where I was like, okay, I'm going to close the gym down. I already made the decision I was going to close the gym down in about 6 months' time. So I was like, over the next 6 months, I've got to get this content thing off the ground, find some clients, find some jobs. I was lucky enough I was running an online fitness programming company called Projects Fit, and that was going really well. So that kind of online income really helped to make the transition. So I was lucky enough to have a few kind of eggs in different baskets to kind of help make the transition smoother. And I mean, Cara Saunders gave me a massive break. 2019, she invited me to come with her to Hawaii to come and document her eyewear company, Active Eyewear.
Yeah.
They were just launching, and she wanted someone to come and take some photos over in Hawaii. So that was a massive break. Just like this was my first proper job as a content creator. Was that one there? So I was lucky to have that connection there with her. Yeah.
Not a bad
How long
spot
had
to
you
go.
been doing? Sorry.
No, you're good. Just not a bad. Like, I'd love to go to Hawaii.
Oh yeah. The best gig. That's literally the dream. Take the camera and off you go.
Yeah.
How long were you doing content creation leading up to that point? So you must have had some level of like marketability or market presence. People must have known who you were. What was the journey leading up to that point?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a CrossFit gym owner, anyone that runs a CrossFit gym or any small business for that matter would understand that you do everything, right? Like you are the cleaner, you are the marketing person, you are the person making the calls, you do everything. And so that was just part of it, running a CrossFit gym for 8-9 years. I just taught myself how to create social media content, how to take a photo, how to do a video. I've always had a creative streak, I feel like. But up until I found the camera, I was never really able to express it. So I feel like I've always had that eye for design and stuff that looks good. And so, so I was literally I was probably doing it about for a year, seriously, when I got the job with Cara. Like I was doing a lot of content for myself and for the gym about a year prior. Yeah.
But completely quick turnaround.
Yeah.
You must have really dove headfirst into it.
I did, yeah. Like just watched hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos and just trial and error, just go out, create something, see if it works. And yeah.
So much you can learn on YouTube, hey? Like every problem I come across, like YouTube it, how to fix a toilet cistern. Like I did that recently, just anything, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to know how many hours of YouTube videos I've watched in my lifetime. That'd be stupid. Yeah,
100%.
Have you listened to Mr. Beast on Joe Rogan's podcast recently?
I haven't. It's on my list to watch. I saw that pop up, but I haven't watched it yet. No.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend it. I think you would get a lot out of it, and maybe you could talk on your mindset into kind of having to make something work, and then how many hours you put into it. Like, was it 80 hours a week? Was it every spare minute you had around the job that you had, or was it something that just kind of clicked naturally for you? Like, how hard was it for you to pick up the camera and then learn how to do this thing?
Yeah, I mean, it was every hour that I had free, I either spent thinking about or planning or shooting a video or a photo. It wasn't hard in the sense that I loved it. Like I loved doing it. So I remember I would, here on the Gold Coast in the summertime, the sun comes up pretty early and I would coach a 5:30 a.m. class. I remember going to the gym at like 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, popping the drone up at the gym and getting some drone footage before I coached my 5:30 class, just because I wanted to fly the drone and I thought I'd get the sunset. So I think, I was like I would lie awake at night just thinking about the next video I was going to make. And It did consume me.
That's cool.
So I was very obsessive about it, in the healthiest way, I think. I hope. Yeah, but it was hours and hours of just trying things. Yeah.
Do you now find, like, obviously, well, you would have learned in that time, but like when it comes to, say, the YouTube channel or creating a good, photo for car or whatever it is, or filming, you did filming of some quarterfinals, I think I remember you saying, is that a lot more efficient now? You're like, cool, I can put a YouTube video together in X amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I remember when I started, I would overshoot. Like, I'd come home and I'd have like 8 hours worth of footage for like a 2-minute video.
Yeah.
And so I've learned to kind of trim the fat and just shoot what's necessary now. And that's something you can't really learn unless you're on the job experiencing it. So I'm a lot faster now at creating my videos and just shooting what I need to shoot.
Just on that, I got a friend of mine who's starting filming some content for a CrossFit gym over here in WA. And I caught up with him recently, and he actually said that, you can't go back and shoot something. So his logic, like, almost in contrast to that thought, obviously, like you just said, you've got to learn, but he's like, cool, I'm filming everything. And that way I can know, like, you would learn. And I guess that's probably what you're leading or alluding to, is just to film everything and then, take the time, do your, what's it called? Do your 10,000 hours of learning. Okay, cool. I don't actually need to film that in the future because that's a waste of time and blah, blah, blah. But his direction was like, film everything and then just, write through it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think there's different instances. Like, if you're with a personality that you're trying to capture some moments where they say something, really good, there's nothing worse than not having the camera recording, so it does depend on what you're shooting. Like, if I'm shooting a hype video for a brand and I know that, look, there's 5 rounds of this workout, I don't have to film every single thruster this person's doing. I can just film the first round of thrusters, turn the camera off, and then focus on a different angle or different movement. But, hanging out with Matt Fraser last year at the CrossFit Games, I can tell you now, the camera was on 24/7. Like, I never stopped the camera running. But I was like, if Matt says something that's going to be a gold nugget, I don't want to miss it, So I guess it does depend on what you're shooting at the time. Yeah.
How was that experience? That would just be wild, dude.
I'm still, I don't think I've come down from it yet. I'm still on a high from it. That was the coolest experience, man. Like, just going to Matt and Sammy's house, a few days before the games, and I had my birthday while I was there.
Sick.
With them. So that was just, such a cool experience. And hopefully I can do it again this year. That's the plan. So yeah.
When was that? Can you talk us through that whole process? Like, when you got there and how long you stayed for, and not necessarily just at Matt's place, but kind of the entire experience. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, it was so last minute because they put an ad on Instagram saying, hey, we're looking for a content creator to join the team. And it sounded like they wanted someone more long-term, someone on the ground with them, which made sense. But I applied regardless, and got an email back from Sammy saying, hey, we're aware of your work, but we need someone in the States that lives nearby. So thanks so much, but it's not gonna work out, So, like, sweet, no worries. Went on a holiday with my family to New Zealand, and got an email from, this would have been maybe 2 weeks out from the games, I reckon, 2 or 3 weeks out from the games. Got an email back from Sammy saying, hey, you know what? If you're going to come to the games anyway, let's just do this. Let's do a vlog. Let's do a vlog style content. We haven't found anyone local yet that kind of fits our team. So let's just do it. And so I scrambled. There was no flights at that time to the States apart from business class flights. And so I had to basically finance my flights. It was $12,000 to return to the States. So I'm still paying that off now, but I view it as a investment in my future. So so I was like, this is too good opportunity to bypass. I'll fly business class if I fly business class. And so I got there. I got to Vermont 2 days before the games. Just spent 2 nights at their house. And they just such down to earth people. Like, we just hung out, worked out, rode on the quad bikes, flew the drone. We just hung out. It was so cool. Just got to know each other before the games, which was important because I think, trying to film a week worth of content with someone, you want to have a bit of understanding of who you're working with. And so that was cool. We bonded really nicely. And and then I flew out to the games maybe a night before them and met them there. And it was all go. Yeah.
So how long the games were? They're a week long or a couple of weeks, and you were there for?
Yeah, so it's 5 days. So I just spent every minute of every day for 5 days straight, just following Matt around. They basically wanted to document his experience at the CrossFit Games as a spectator for the first time. So that was really cool because he'd never as an athlete, you never get to see the vendor village and, you know, all the things that the spectators kind of see. So it was really eye-opening for him to actually see the behind the scenes of what happens at the games, you know, as a spectator. So it was cool. He was like a little kid, really. Like, he's just, he just had a smile across his face the whole weekend, just running around. It's pretty funny, actually. You got to run everywhere with him. You can't walk because he just gets swamped by people wanting to take photos. So so Matt O'Keefe, his manager, would like, he would like rally us together and say, okay, we're going to run to this spot now, and then we'll just like all run from spot to spot. Otherwise, we just can't get anywhere, you know. So it was unreal.
What a crazy experience, man.
Yeah.
What a crazy experience. And then you came back and you've just been living off the high since, no doubt.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much just dreaming about this year's games, going and doing it all over again. So
cool. So that's the deal. You're locked in.
Hopefully, they said we can do it again. They said there's a job for me if I want it. So I think they've got a bit more of an established team now on the ground, which is cool. But as far as the YouTube stuff goes, it is very different. Like vlogging is very different to creating hype videos for you know, like reels for Instagram. It is different to ask the right questions and catch the right moments. So I think they trust me in that sense that I can create a good looking vlog, with the right content. So.
Just on that, actually, I love the like the esoteric kind of like the nitty gritty of people that are really, really good at their craft. Could you maybe talk on the difference between like even the angles that you're using or the lighting or how fast the cuts are between frames, or, you know, between a hype video and maybe something that's a little bit more intimate, I guess? Yeah.
I think with the vlogs, there's no real set rules, you know. It's very much intuition and kind of just a lot of the stuff you can't explain. Like you say, the certain angles or certain cuts, it's just something that comes naturally that you pick up from watching other people's videos. You just gather all these different information from different people and apply them to your videos. But yeah, I mean, obviously vlogging is a lot more raw and real. And I think people get way too consumed by getting a nice looking shot, and rather than just focusing on the actual content, the actual meat of what's being said or what's being done. Obviously, you can always add in the nice looking B-roll, sequences and things, but for vlogging, it's a lot more just raw and real. It's just making sure the camera's on, you're actually capturing what's going on rather than being too concerned about how it looks. So that's the content I prefer catching.
Sure. And in terms of maybe social media content, would you say it's the same rule, or you really want to,
I think,
very explicitly like have really nicely crafted photos and videos?
Again, I think doing the thing is more important than, like, I think actually if you're not putting content out because you feel like your content isn't, like, the angle isn't correct, or the filter you've used isn't good enough, if that's stopping you, then you're missing the point. So I'd rather just put it out there. Like, I look back at my stuff that I put out, 2 or 3 years ago, and I just cringe at, the way I color graded the footage or the song I used or whatever. But if I didn't put it out, I wouldn't have progressed, So but yeah, I mean, one common mistake I see videographers make is they let a shot run for way too long. I think one of the important things is to not be precious about your footage, to be willing to cut out stuff and just leave the absolute best shots. So it's definitely one. If there's any videographers or photographers listening, like, that's one piece of advice: is don't be too precious with your footage. Don't be afraid to be brutal with the cutting. I often see just people just holding a shot for way too long instead of just moving on to the next shots, or keeping a shot that's not really necessary. So,
So with your equipment that you would use, I'm sure you've upgraded as you've gone over the last, 9 years or so, but what did you start with? Was it just like a handheld camera, or was it your iPhone, or?
I started with a borrowed camera. So I borrowed my friend Ty's camera, probably for the first 6 months. Just borrowed his camera and asked him if I could use it until I had enough money to buy my own. So I've only had 2 cameras. Like, I started with the Lumix GH4 for those who are camera heads. And I switched to Sony from there. So I'm now a Sony man, and Sony's just killing the game. So I don't think I'll switch from there. But so I started with borrowed camera, then a cheapie, and then finally the dream camera I have now. Yeah.
Sick. And the drone. When did the drone come in?
The drone. I've always been a drone guy. I love drones. So I think I may have bought a drone before I bought a camera. Because I had my mate, we shared an office and he had a camera. I think I bought a drone actually, and then bought a camera after that. So that would have been back in 2018 or something, maybe. Yeah.
Drone shots have just been a game changer for so much. I feel like even in feature films, there's just so much more. I think going back, I'm going to butcher the year, maybe 15 years. you'd never get those. You're like, oh, how'd they do that? Maybe a helicopter was flying over and doing. And now they're almost in every feature film, you get some sort of top-down view of a city or some sort of landscape, and it's just magnificent. It's just angles you never see, obviously, day-to-day life. So
yeah, well, actually, I went from buying a normal cinematic drone to then buying what's called an FPV drone, like a first-person drone.
Yeah.
So it's like a racing drone. It's a lot faster. It can get some pretty cool angles and fly pretty aggressively. I've just recently sold it because I just wasn't using it. But yeah, it's just constantly evolving the drone game. It's crazy.
Is that the one with the VR, the head?
Yeah, that's the one with the headset. Yeah, I got Matt to fly that actually. There's a photo on his Instagram of him wearing the big goggles, and he couldn't believe it. But yeah, I've actually haven't been flying my drone a whole lot recently. So yeah, got to get back into it.
You mentioned something a little while ago about the which I wasn't aware that you did. You had an online program or an online programming offering, which was kind of propping up the transition, I guess.
Yes.
I feel like that's a lot of that's pre-COVID, I'd imagine.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think through COVID, like being in the fitness space, which we all are, that's something a lot of people have tried to, put up and create something that's a little bit of some sort of point of difference that's going to get a client bought in. And obviously now you've got your elite athletes doing it. Like you say, even Matt's doing it with his thing. It's like, how you're going to compete, but there's a lot of people like, well, if he's doing that, that's kind of going to take a lot of the eyes and the attention. What was it that you feel that made it successful for you?
Yeah, I think that's a classic trap that people fall into. They go, there's some really well-known athletes or well-known coaches around the world putting programming out. How in the world am I going to compete? And the answer is there's a lot of people on planet Earth. That's the answer. Like there's enough for another 100,000 programs to be out there. Enough people for you to be successful. You don't need. I think people don't realize how many clients do you actually need to make a program successful, and it's not actually that many. So I think that's the first thing. It's just forget about the Matt Frasers and the Rich Fronings and all the high-profile athletes. Sure, they're killing the game, but there's enough people around for you to be a success as well. My programming company was specifically to CrossFit gyms, so we would program the class programming for them. Right. So where other programming companies may have thrived when gyms closed down, for us it was the opposite. When gyms started closing down, they also started cancelling the subscription to our company. So it was a real tough time for us and our company. So we had to be really creative in how we try to encourage the gyms to stay on board with us, but it was tough. So I think, someone who's a great example at the moment who's doing really well is Brandon Swan. He's got a programming company called Dad Hours. Yep. Being a dad now, he's obviously just gone, I'm a dad and things look different now for me. Why don't I find some other dads that want to follow a similar program, So I think it is just finding your little niche or building your little community and just being truthful. Like James Newbury's another one. He's found a niche in like the hybrid athlete model where, hey, you want to do CrossFit and strength training, but you also want to run some half marathons and do some Ironmans, I'm your man. So it's just finding that the differentiator factor or that that niche,
Speaking of half marathons and marathons, I might have seen something in the last couple of days that you put your hand up for.
I'm a big fan of what's the saying? Creating, I like to just commit to things without being ready for it, and making it public. So it's like, you're deep now. You got to go. So I just signed up for the Gold Coast Marathon, which is in 3 months' time. I've not been running, so it's going to be interesting. But I'm confident because I ran the Auckland Marathon back in 2014. Yep. And I ran that with zero running at all, just off CrossFit training. So I remember doing the pose. I did the pose running method, CrossFit Endurance cert. Right. And so I was, came back from that weekend. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a running expert now. I know how to run. And I started teaching running at my gym, and I was like, I reckon I can run a marathon just based off the knowledge I've gained on how to run properly, without actually doing any running. Yeah. So all I did was like just 200s or 400s and just practice my pose running method of, and then I was pretty fit at the time, like CrossFit fit. Yeah. And I had a few buddies that were runners, and they said, you can't do it. Like you can't run a marathon without actually doing some running. And I was like, I bet you I can. And I did it, and I ran it in 3:58. I ran it sub 4-hour marathon. Jeez. Just off CrossFit training. There you go. And I was a write-off for like a week. Every joint in my body was just destroyed, but I did it. And so I think for better training, over the next 3 months, I should be all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Humans are capable of some crazy things. I got chatting with this guy. I was at a charity event last weekend, and I got chatting with this dude just kind of randomly, and he broke his back in 3 places and broke both of his legs, and then 2 months later he ran 44 marathons in 44 days. Pretty insane, with no training, by the way. Like, wasn't a runner beforehand, was just lifting weights. Broke his back, broke both of his legs, or both of his arms. I think it was maybe both of his arms actually. And then he came back and ran 44 marathons in a row. It's pretty wild.
I think it's just what you give your attention to, eh? Like, if you you tell your brain is so powerful. You tell yourself you can do something, you'd be surprised, what you can achieve. 100%.
And the flip to that as well. Like, if you
both ways.
Tell yourself, if that negative chat comes in, which I'm sure it did in that marathon, if you let it overcome you, then you're doomed. Before you've even started, really. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty challenging.
It is, yeah. But yeah, after the open finish, and that was kind of my end of my CrossFit season. With the open, it's like I need something to train for, and I like this idea of being a hybrid athlete, being able to maintain your muscle mass, maintain your strength, but also being able to go and run a marathon. I love that idea. So a bit of inspiration from James. Actually, more so James's new girlfriend. She's a powerlifter, and she just did a half Ironman.
Yeah, right.
And hearing her talk about that, going, just give it a crack. Like, just sign up for something that you're scared of and just make it happen. So it's like, oh yeah, that's I'll do that. I'll try that. Yeah.
I was planning to run this 50K in December, and then I met this Kane guy, the 44 marathons guy, and I was like, well, maybe I should aim a little higher than just running 150K. Is like, it's just crazy. And you maybe had this as well when you were over there with Matt and Sammy, and you see these freak athletes, and you're like, man, what the human body is capable of. Like, that must have been inspiring for you as an athlete.
Yeah. I mean, anyone that follows CrossFit, I would highly recommend, if you can make it to a live competition, if you can come to the Torium Pro, next month, like, seeing these athletes in real life, it's very different to seeing the YouTube videos and the live coverage. They're amazing. It is really inspirational seeing these athletes just do stupid things. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
What are your goals as an athlete, maybe? Or maybe you could talk on it yourself as an athlete or yourself as a business owner.
Yeah.
What are your goals over the next little while, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. I mean, fitness wise, I just want to be as healthy as I can be, like being a dad now, and I just want to be the best for my wife, my daughter, really. I mean, seeing where I placed this year, I think I was maybe 2,000 spots shy of qualifying for quarterfinals. Wow. I wouldn't mind giving that a crack. I wouldn't mind trying to make it into the quarterfinal 10% here in Oceania. That would be pretty cool. I'm 35. I'm considered, I'm in the first Masters bracket, but I don't quite view myself as a master just yet. So I wouldn't mind, qualifying for the quarterfinals in the open division. That'd be pretty sweet. So yeah, get this marathon done. I wouldn't mind doing, some Ironmans, maybe a half Ironman to start with, and then eventually an Ironman. So yeah, just a few little goals like that, but it's more just to be able to tick some things off that I've always thought I could possibly do. But yeah, no real lofty goals, There's a few like strength goals I want to reach. Like, strength's probably been my worst component of my fitness. I've always been pretty gymnastic and cardiovascular, but as far as the strength stuff goes, I've always lacked a bit. So I wouldn't mind being able to, back squat 180, snatch 110. There's a few things like that I want to achieve. So, and then business wise, I just want to see the YouTube channel get to 100,000. That's the over the next 5 years, I'd love to see that hit the 100,000 and get that YouTube, button sent to me.
Plaque.
Yeah, a little plaque sent to me.
About right now.
We're about to hit 11,000. So
yeah,
it's a slow grind. YouTube, like, people don't realize how much work it takes to get anywhere in YouTube. It's a slow grind. But by saying that, we hit 10,000 New Year's Day this year. We hit 10,000, and it's been 3 months, and we've just about gained another 1,000. So it's easy to look at it and go, oh, it's not growing. But I mean, 1,000 people, that's a lot of human beings. Like, if you put 1,000 people in a room, that's a lot of people that we've gained in 3 months. So it's pretty encouraging. Yeah, it's cool.
I'm sure it's exponential as well, right?
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard it's a snowball effect. Like, I remember Casey Neistat saying that the first 1,000 was the hardest. 10,000 was easier than 1,000, and 100,000 was easier than 10,000, and 1 million was easier than 100,000. So he does say apparently it is exponential and snowball effect for sure. Yeah.
How long have you had it going?
I think I uploaded a video about Greg Glassman maybe 2 years ago when all that drama went down, and that was when that video got me from like 800 subs to 2,000 overnight, pretty much. It had like 50,000 views or something. I think it's still my biggest video. on YouTube. And so since that video, I've uploaded pretty much 2 or 3 times a week ever since. So I'd say consistently 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's pretty impressive. 5,000, like you say, you put 1,000 people in a room, but put 11,000 people in a room. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's cool. And I think we've got a pretty strong community on my channel. Like, I feel like everyone's pretty like-minded, and like if you go through the comment section, it's always very positive, and there's always lots of engagement. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the journey. It's cool.
Where do you see the content going in that regard? Like you've got obviously the 3 YouTube CrossFit channels that I kind of frequent would be the Butteries, Craig, and then yourself.
Yeah.
Quite not surprisingly different, but obviously Buttery Bros release now episodes or whatever it is, and they jump around America and wherever else they get flown to. Craig has kind of his brand that he's kind of pushed as well in terms of like that. He's now seeing a lot of his athletes and doing that sort of stuff. What's your point of difference? Yeah.
Well, first of all, you putting me in the same bracket as those 2 channels, it's a massive compliment. Like I love those boys; they're good friends of mine. But I think being over in Australia, the challenge is that you can't be doing what the Buttery Bros are doing. That we just don't have that many high-profile athletes to be hanging about with all the time. So so I've realized that like I don't want to be doing CrossFit commentary and commenting on the CrossFit drama either. Like those things are great for they're great clickbait, and they get some great views when you talk about what's going on in the space, if there's any drama happening. But long term, that's not what I want to be doing. Like it doesn't feel good making those videos. What feels good to me is making videos about my training, my life. And so I think that's the direction I want to take. I want people to buy into my journey and to who I am as a person. So I think my content long term will be mostly about me. Like I'll be the main character, and then obviously hopefully do some cool trips and hang out with some cool athletes. I mean, currently when I travel to do video, it's at the moment I'm still doing it for other people, right? Like I'm going over and filming for Matt Fraser. Whereas someone like Craig, he goes over to the games and he films for himself. So the goal is to get to that place where I can do these trips, but not have any client work and just be able to just create content for myself. So that's the ultimate goal. But yeah, so I think it was always going to be in the CrossFit or the fitness space. I've got to decide whether I want to branch out and go outside of CrossFit as well, or just stick in the CrossFit lane. I mean, the sport's only just starting, there's so much potential for the sport to grow. So I think we are still in the baby stages. So I think there's heaps of room to grow. So I think my initial thoughts are stay put in the CrossFit lane.
Being that you do have those connects or whatever it is, there would be conversations I'd imagine around, exactly that, the trajectory of CrossFit and where it could go and where maybe you'd like it to go. Might either be the same or different places. But I think you mentioned recently that, Oceania has very few actual athletes that can get to the games, which is a rort, I think, considering how fit and strong, majority of the guys that compete quarters and at semis and that sort of stuff are. But does that then mean like a bigger games? Like where do you see CrossFit going in the next, say, 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think the focus needs to be on the grassroots, like the affiliates and the members. Like that's where, that's what CrossFit really is. I think I view the Great Games as a celebration of, of our sport and our brand, but it's not as much. I love the athletes and the games. I feel like the people that watch my videos are they're everyday CrossFitters. People that go to the CrossFit gym and just want to stay fit and healthy. So I think that's where the focus should be for CrossFit, and that's where I want to focus my efforts as well when it comes to creating content. I've actually thought about doing a bit of an Australian trip. Go and visit some gyms and do some content at local CrossFit boxes and just meet the people that are on the ground. Where else are we going? I mean, I think the Open's a great sign of the health of the local CrossFit gym. So I think we can get the participation of the Open up to like 500,000. I think it's sitting at like 300,000 at the moment. If we can get up to like 500,000, that'll be a good sign that the community on the ground is growing and are buying into methodology and what it's all about. That and the affiliation numbers. I think those are back on the rise as well, but they're not quite back to where they used to be. So it'd be cool to see that go over 15,000, see more CrossFit boxes pop up around the world. And so I think that's my passion, or that's where I think the focus should be, is on the grassroots.
Would if we're thinking about it from a professional sport and a grassroots level as two sort of different entities, if you think about any sort of professional sport like the NBA, NFL, AFL, NRL. Maybe I would imagine the AFL and NRL definitely do grassroots programs, but obviously like all the perspective, all the talk, all of that is around the elite, the 1% of the 1%. In America, I don't really know, I could be wrong, but like I don't think their professional sporting bodies do a lot for grassroots because they've got such a big population. So there's two different entities there. Is that maybe where, I don't know, I'm just speculating and you might not have an opinion yet, but there needs to be like cool, this is the games and you guys all do that and that's promoted there. And then a separate business, which is CrossFit. And I guess that's the change they sort of made. I don't know where the question is in there, but that's kind of where my brain goes.
I think that's what's so beautiful about our sport. That's what makes it unique, is that as a rugby fan, like I love the Springboks, I love the rugby, I watch rugby, but I don't play rugby myself. And most sports are like that. It's a spectator sport. It's not the people that watch it. The people that watch it don't actually do the thing, and that's what makes CrossFit so special. The people that watch it also do the thing, and and that's why I think it's even more important that it always comes back to the people, because the athletes that are competing, they came out of CrossFit boxes. Like they came out of local CrossFit boxes. But yeah, you're right. There has to be a separation, and especially for those who don't know what CrossFit is, I think it's really important that that CrossFit ensures that those who are watching from the outside can see the difference between what an elite athlete is and the stuff they're doing, because that's not what we should be doing at a local CrossFit box level. So it's really hard because you get inspired by these people, but then also you inherently believe that you can't do it because they're too good, they're too good looking, they're too bulky or whatever it is. I just imagine someone watching CrossFit for the first time, they can either be really inspired or really discouraged. I guess they can either put them off the CrossFit box. I don't know. I guess it depends how you're wired, but I know some people are really intimidated to go to a CrossFit box because they've seen the CrossFit Games. And others are really eager to get to the CrossFit box because they've seen the CrossFit Games. So it's just figuring out how to package the message in a helpful way. Yeah.
As you mentioned that there, and I'm taking over a lot of the questions here. Sorry, Luke, but I think I just realized that a lot of those team sports that are spectator sports or even individual, you start as not even pre-adolescent, like a pre-child. You're like between the ages of 5. There's Auskick, there's I played hockey, so there's Hook into Hockey and Minky and all these sorts of things that get kids from such a young age involved in a sport that they'll watch later. And obviously, as the rise of CrossFit keeps progressing, you're seeing people like your Mel O'Brien's, who are now 18 and she's a freak, and she started from a younger age. I actually don't train out of a CrossFit box, and I've done CrossFit for a very short amount of my time, but I just love I'm a spectator. I'm a pure spectator of CrossFit, and I love the background of stuff and like the stuff that you produce and all that sort of stuff. Is there space, or is there a room in a CrossFit box where they bring in kids? And I know that there is a young adult sort of section, but is it like as young as 7 or 8?
There is, yeah. So there's actually a official CrossFit Kids course you can do.
Oh, cool.
As a coach, and then run the CrossFit Kids program. So they definitely are around. And you are now seeing, like, I met a 14-year-old CrossFitter when I was with James the other day filming the Ironman. This 14-year-old kid, his dad asked James to come and look at him train, to tell his dad whether he thought this kid could make it as a CrossFitter. And apparently this kid was he was really good at a bunch of sports, and he was weighing up which one to do. And James said to him, like, which sport do you want to, pursue and be great at? And he's like, CrossFit's thing. I want to be a CrossFitter one day. And I was like, I've never heard that before, that a 14-year-old kid wants to be a CrossFitter one day. So it's definitely happening, I think, where the younger CrossFitters are, they're starting younger and younger, and it is becoming with the brands that are coming in, there's definitely the money starting to, the money you can make is starting to increase slowly but surely. We just had Monster Energy. Monster Energy just came into the sport as a sponsor of some of the top athletes. Every week there's new brands moving into the sport. So it's only a matter of time before the money's going to be good enough to actually be considered as a professional sport,
I think maybe some of the hesitancy I remember going through my undergrad, which was in exercise science. And even then, and that was nearly 10 years ago now, trying to quash the idea of like the kids can't lift. You ruin that. Like a lot of people think, I think it was actually the research had shown that even pre-11, kids should be learning how to lift. Like people are doing gymnastics, or kids are doing gymnastics, and they, going to the Olympics at 14, which is, part of CrossFit. So why can't they be building a base level or foundation level of strength that can hold them in good stead? Because you can only build your bone density and your muscle mass to a period of time in your life, and then from them it just it's maintenance or it will decrease. So it's good that the education has shifted. It just needs to seep out to the greater community or the general population.
Yeah, I mean the CrossFit Kids program is amazing. It's really well thought out, and it's pretty much all body weight. Like most of the strength gains they make is neuromuscular. Like it's not necessarily muscle gain as such, more so movement patterns. And but yeah, it's an amazing thing to get your kids involved in. So if there's a local box around you and they do a kids program, it's worth checking out. Especially if the kids are interested in doing other sports, CrossFit is a great complement to that. Like it teaches good movement mechanics and just gets them ready for their sport. So yeah, it's exciting.
So in terms of, I want to take this down like a bit of a different route.
Yeah, go.
So we've talked on CrossFit and your business within CrossFit. Has there been any other ventures that you've tried that haven't worked? And if so, like what have you learned from that? I feel like that's an important thing to kind of understand. Like not everything is just success after success and opportunity after opportunity. Like there has to be some stuff for you to hit a roadblock.
Absolutely. I mean, the gym here on the Gold Coast is a classic example. Like, so we moved here in 2016. The gym in Auckland finally, after years of making all the mistakes and, getting all the systems in place, it was finally running really well. And so I thought, you know what, I've got this thing sorted. Like I know how to run across the gym now. I've made the mistakes. I'll start another one on the Gold Coast and just do it right from the start. Again, if you're someone who started a business before, it's pretty messy, if it's your first business. And that gym was my first business in Auckland. So it was very messy. And then I had this opportunity here to start fresh and do everything right. And everything was clean. All the members were on the same membership prices. All the automated payments were set up. The gym was clean and beautiful, new equipment. It was all perfect. And I thought it was going to do really well. And it didn't. It just flopped. Like it was 3 years of just grinding, trying to get people through the doors. And I just couldn't do it. And I couldn't understand why. There's so many gyms on the Gold Coast that are succeeding. And I felt like ours was better than theirs. It was a better offering. I was a better coach, of course, and the and the equipment was nice and new, and it was just So I still scratch my head sometimes and try to understand why that didn't work, but for some reason it didn't. I think a lot of it was probably my heart was starting to move on from being a gym owner. I definitely rushed into it. Like I came to the Gold Coast and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I just saw this building on the street one day, and I was like, man, that'll be a great CrossFit gym. And signed the lease the next day, just jumped in and signed the lease. And looking back, I should have probably taken a bit more time. I think stepping back, I think we can get so close to our ideas of what we should be doing and what we want to be doing that we can't see the bigger picture. And I think just stepping back and allowing other people to speak into your life is a big one. My best friend that I spoke about before, he told me, he said, don't rush into anything. Take 3 months off. You've been running this gym in Auckland for 6-7 years. Take 3 months off and just have some space. And I wish I took that advice, just take a bit more time, step back from your emotions, your feelings, and just, look at everything that's in front of you and, really what you want to be doing and not just rush into things. So that's probably the biggest lesson I learned through that one, was just to not rush. And just because you think you've learned all the lessons prior doesn't mean there's no guarantee it's going to be successful, the next venture. So that was definitely a big failure.
Yeah, that's tough to do, especially if you're an opportunist. I think you and I are very similar in that way, where probably a bit quicker to just kind of pull the trigger on something and make something happen, or at least try, like bite off more than you can chew and then chew like fuck is the quote that I like to use. Exactly. Do you think that you would be more measured if you were to try again? Or do you think that like your success has come from like financing business class trips to America?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you're like, you go, oh, you should take your time and evaluate everything. But then, like you say, I can definitely credit a lot of things, a lot of success, just because I just had a crack at the time and I didn't think about it. I didn't let my head take over. So it's such a hard one. Like if you can mitigate the risk, mitigate it. Like if there's options to try and make the blow softer, if it's going to fail, then definitely put those things in place. But I think sometimes you got to go with your heart as well. It's so hard. It's hard to know when to be measured and when to just go for it.
In my part, well, not my past, but from my perspective, I feel like not impulsive, but fail fast. What is it? Fail hard, fail fast, or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
You learn your lesson super quick.
Yeah,
it's like you have a dip, go all in, learn, and it will either work or it doesn't. But what is this? You win or you learn kind of thing. So for those that are always reserved, obviously there's probably a middle ground and it's perfect for everything, every decision you can make. But if you're more likely to lean into the opportunities that you see in front of you, you're gonna have just a far more enjoyable life, I reckon, as well.
I agree. It's exciting as well. It's just like risk taking is exciting, just the possibility of things taking off and working is enough for me to take the risk, like that, just that feeling of, man, something could happen here. This could be really cool. That's enough for me to go for it, and then just deal with the consequences if it doesn't,
100%.
Yeah.
So good. So lastly, I kind of want to a couple of things. You're, from my perspective anyway, you feel like, it seems like you're a very almost regimented, organized individual when it comes to assessing your weeks and your months, and you've got your book of the month that you're prepped for the next 3 or 4 months. You've got your videos you release 2 to 3 times a week and all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure that there's curveballs that come at you from all angles and, trying to rock you and throw you off course. But being a self-employed individual, what are some maybe key things that you might be able to instill in either us or those that are listening, that you're like, these mantras or these morning routines or whatever have always held me in good stead?
Yeah. So firstly, I'm not very organized.
Perception is everything, eh?
Social media is so good, to make things look good. I mean, this year has been a big change for me in that arena of getting more organized. And the biggest thing for me has been my environment, like looking at my environment and what it encourages. Does it encourage laziness and distraction, or does it encourage productivity? And so like simple examples is phone in the room. This is the first year of my life that I've not taken my phone to my room at nighttime. So I leave it in my office, and I've replaced my phone sits with a book, So I read this thing earlier this year, and I think it must be my January book, the Atomic Habits book. It was saying that people that are disciplined they're not necessarily more disciplined. They just have an environment that is less distracting or less tempting to do the wrong thing. And so I was like, I want to be more disciplined. So instead of me exerting effort and trying to be more disciplined, why don't I just make life easier for myself and set up my environment so it's less distracting? So I seem more disciplined, but it's just a simpler environment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So another classic example is vitamins. Like I've got my vitamins now sitting on the counter. So every morning when I walk to the kitchen, it's there staring me in the face so I can have my vitamins. It's not because I'm more disciplined. I've just made it easier for myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice that I can share at the moment. Is look at your environment. Is it causing you to be distracted and tempted to do things that you hate doing and not want to do? Or is it actually set up in a way that it's encouraging good habits and helping you move forward in life? So I think that's been a good thing, is just changing my environment,
Love it. That's so good.
Yeah.
I do the vitamin one as well. I used to put them in the pantry, and now they're on the countertop every morning. And if you choose, you're then making a choice to not have them if you don't have them. So
it's hard because my wife hates things sitting out on the bench. Like, so she puts away my NutriBullet, she puts away the vitamins, and I'll take them out again. And like, they've got to be there, otherwise I won't use them. So yeah, it's powerful. It's such a simple thing, but it's really powerful. It's really changed the way I do things over the last few months. And then I like just making things public. It helps me to be accountable. So like the book thing, for example, it's more for me than anyone else. And like if I tell people I'm reading these books and I've bought them, then I've kind of have to. People are going to ask me about the books and how they were, so I'm forced to read them.
Yeah.
The same reason I signed up for the marathon, not being prepared. It's just putting yourself in a place where you've got no choice but to make it happen. Yeah.
Love it.
You've also got the environment now with, a pretty big public profile. You've got 20,000 people, on Instagram and 11,000 on YouTube that are holding you accountable. Do you have maybe some tips for people that don't have that level of accountability, where people aren't, like, maybe, for example, maybe it's like they're a first generation fitness person in their family. Like everyone else is overweight and they smoke and they're unhealthy and they want to make these changes.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have all these people holding them accountable. Do you have maybe some tips, like the vitamins on the cupboard top? That's like a really good, obviously sounds like a massive one, but that can be super hard for some people. If you're a young kid, or if, I remember when I was a teenager, like I was involved in footy, so that was lucky, but both my parents never really cared about fitness. So it was kind of like, it was just up to me.
Yeah.
Do you have any maybe some tips for people that don't have that, like making it public for you would be a really powerful one?
Yeah.
But for me, I might not have that same level of kind of like pushback if I don't do something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, outside of my following that I have now, I've always had my tight kind of 3 to 5 people in my life that I've chosen, like handpicked, like to hang out with and to be inspired by and to be kept accountable by. So I think it's important to seek out those people, those tight 5, and because you're so influenced by those who are closest to you. So I think if you are someone who finds it hard, and it's highly likely you've got people around you that have bad habits, and they're dragging you down. So it is just making those tough calls to maybe reassess your close circle and get some people that have some of the mindsets or some of the goals to you around you. But then also just on a very basic, simple level, and it's such a cliche thing, but you've got one life, so it's your responsibility to decide how you want that to look, and so I think if people just stop and go, you know what, I've got this one shot, I'm a miracle, like it's a miracle that I'm even here, I don't want to waste this opportunity. It is such a gift to be a human being, like the chance of being a human being is so minute, so to be here on this earth is such a gift. So I think that if you can just have that mindset, like wake up knowing that it's a gift I've got and I've got to steward it well, and hopefully that can be enough people, so you don't even need people to motivate you, just that truth alone hopefully is enough for people to make some changes and stick to it. Yeah,
I guess because we're constantly living it, you take it for granted in a way.
Oh, so easy, man. So easy to take for granted what we have. It's crazy what we've been given, So we've got to make the most of it. Yeah. But it's hard. I mean, it's easier said than done, It's easier said than done. Changing your circle, your inner circle, is hard, It's like when you've got a toxic relationship, you've got to leave that girlfriend or boyfriend, but it's easier said than done, but it's the right thing to do. It's the same with your friendship. It's like, there might just be some that you have to cut, or there might just be some hard work you've got to put in to build some. If you don't have close friends, it's putting the work into actually putting yourself out there, which is hard, but to actually make those friendships happen, So hopefully it's helpful for someone.
Well, that's why gyms are perfect, I think. You've got potentially hundreds of people all in the same environment, maybe with, or at least a similar mindset of wanting to be better in some way, whether that be healthier or fitter or stronger or all of the above.
That's it.
You've got people that are of similar vein,
Exactly. And that's where the value of a gym, any gym, not just a CrossFit gym, like any fitness facility, that's where the real value lies in a gym membership, especially a functional training gym where community is a priority. Sure, the fitness is great, but the real value lies in the relationships you can build, like you say. I mean, so many business opportunities, so many marriages have come from just the CrossFit gym or the local functional training gym, so definitely good to invest in,
So I guess as I should have prefaced this at the start, but our goal is to have guests as repeat guests. So
awesome.
As we talked about with your growth with your YouTube channel, 1,000 people in 3 months is awesome. Maybe by the end of the year, we're working on, if it is exponential, maybe 15,000 by the end of the year.
Yep.
And we'll have you back on, and we'll talk about maybe some systems that you put in place in order to get that kind of growth. I think that would be awesome, man.
Yeah, I'd love to be back. That'd be cool.
Yeah, real, man.
Hopefully 25,000, that's the goal by the end of the year.
Okay, done. 25K.
It's in there, it's out there. That's it.
5K, that's the goal.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
If you're listening, guys, and you want to check him out, we'll definitely link the YouTube channel and your Instagram in the notes as well. If you're not just into CrossFit, but if you're into just a healthier way to live and enjoy watching people motivate and living their life better, definitely worth a watch of Wyks' channel. But thanks for your time, dude. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate how you've come on short notice, and looking forward to chatting again in the next 6 months or so.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, boys.
Awesome. Thank you very much, man.